All right, at this time, we'll call to order the City of Kenai Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December 28th, 2022. Will you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item A2, roll call, please.
Chair Twait,
Here.
Vice Chair Halsted,
Here?
Commissioner Fikes is absent, Commissioner Woodard. Here. Commissioner Greenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Costin is absent, and Commissioner Glendenning.
Here?
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Item A3, agenda approval. Wishes of the commission. Vice Chair Halsted.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any objections? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Item A4, consent agenda. Vice Chair Halsted.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
And a second.
A second.
All right, any objections? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Item C, scheduled public comment, we have none. Item D, unscheduled public comment. Nobody in the audience and nobody online, so we can move on from there. Item E, consideration of plats, we have none. Takes us to item F, public hearings. We have one tonight. F1 is Resolution PZ 2022-27, a request by Michael Campanella for an encroachment for a side yard setback reduction on the property described as Lot 7, Block 2, Kenai Peninsula Estate Subdivision, Part 2, located at 910 Salmon Run Drive in the rural residential zone. Can I get a motion, please? Commissioner Greenberg.
I move to approve PZ 2022-27.
All right, second. Commissioner Glendenning seconds. Staff report.
Thank you, Chair Twait, and good evening, Commissioners. So before you, you have an encroachment permit that's being proposed at 910 Salmon Run Drive. And so as you see, the screen before you shows you the vicinity map. It's zone rural residential, otherwise RR. And current use is a single-family dwelling, and the land use designation is a low-density residential. It's an approximately 1 acre lot. So what is being requested is that there's a proposed addition to the existing single-family home. It's a 2-story addition that would encroach approximately 3 feet into the 15-foot required side yard setback in the RR zone. Everything to the north and south is vacant, and to the west and east are residential uses. So once again, I just want to make it very clear that this encroachment is allowing a 3-foot into the 15-foot. So therefore, the setback from the addition to that north property line will be 12 feet. Try to make it a little bit easier on the screen, but it's a little bit hard to tell. What's in yellow is showing the proposed addition, and you can barely see a niche of the red. That's where that encroachment is occurring. So there are 4 criteria when it comes to an encroachment permit. The first being that it meets the definition of an encroachment, and it does. It is a structure that is encroaching into the side yard setback. Criteria 2 means it does not encroach into any easement, right-of-way utilities. As you can tell, the only right-of-way you see here is Salmon Run Drive to the west. Therefore, and according to the plat, there aren't any utility easements running through this property. And third criteria is the issuance of an encroachment permit will not authorize a use, which is not a principal permitted use in the zoning district. The zone is rural residential, and a single-family dwelling is a permitted use. This addition does not change that use, so therefore this criteria is also met. And lastly, the 4th criteria is an encroachment is not located across a platted lot line. This addition is within the property lines, therefore is not crossing any boundaries. With those 4 criteria being met, staff is recommending that your commission approve this encroachment permit and adopt resolution PZ 2022-27 to allow an addition to a single-family dwelling to encroach into the 15-foot side yard setback by 3 feet, subject to the conditions listed in the resolution. And this concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thank you. This time we'll open it up for a public hearing. Not seeing anyone available unless they're a ghost to testify. We'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for any discussion or comments. Commissioner Glendenning.
Thank you, Chairman Twait. I have a question for staff. Looking at this mortgage location survey, it seems like the encroachment is just a corner of the structure. It's not the full length of the proposed addition, correct?
Yes, correct, Commissioner Glendenning. You're correct to say there's only a sliver of that northeast portion of that addition.
Yeah. So it might be, what, 18, 20 square feet?
I would say
Just de minimis.
approximately, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And then looking further on the same drawing, it's on page 15 of mine, it looks like there's a septic out there already that's existing, and it comes really close to the lot line. So I think we're okay. You know, if a septic is there and it's approved, it's a leap in logic, parallel ethics or whatever, but I, in my opinion, I'm going to vote to approve this. It's just a sliver of structure that's not been built yet. They're asking permission, not forgiveness. And anyway, my thoughts.
I do want to set the record straight that it has been built. It has not been finalized.
Oh,
This encroachment permit doesn't necessarily distinguish whether it's been built, this request before or after.
okay.
So I do want to set the record straight that they built it. What had occurred was the building official was driving through the neighborhood and saw this construction and told them that they needed a building permit. And that's why staff gave them those 3 options.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little different thing. Notice it's a mortgage location. Is a bank underwriting this? I'm sorry, is a bank underwriting this? And does approve the proposed construction?
That is a very good question, Commissioner Glendenning, and unfortunately, I do not know the answer to that. If the applicant was here, which they were highly encouraged to be here, to answer any questions that your commission may have had to answer that.
Yeah, it seems to me that the mortgage provider would have a say-so about it if they knew. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Greenberg.
Yeah, this looks, the sketch of 12 feet looks a little after the fact, and I don't know if it's actually been measured out to be 12 feet. Is that, looks like they kind of just added it to this mortgage survey. Is that a legitimate distance? Do we know that for sure?
That is a good question, Commissioner Greenberg. So as far as I know, the building official has confirmed that that is as accurate as he can tell. He is to verify that on site when they do their final. So they used that as built just to provide staff with a site plan.
Okay, yeah, because it does mention on here that this is a copyright and shouldn't be edited, basically. So it's not. This isn't really an official, survey. This was being prepared. So I'm not sure if I mean, it looks like it'd be 12 feet, but we're not totally sure. Just an observation.
And maybe I would like to investigate or talk about that a little bit further. Anybody else have an opinion? I mean, if it's considerably different than 12 feet, would that make a difference? Maybe we want to think about that. Instead.
Yeah, just a question, is there any kind of tolerance or variance that's given in surveying that's within X amount of, I mean, we're talking 3 feet, we're not talking about 20 feet. So, I mean, are we worried about something that's so minute that really could just be a calculation error or surveying error or anything like that?
I guess Commissioner Greenberg could probably answer that a little bit closer, but the as-built are pretty accurate. Yeah, I mean, their plus or minus is going to be half some inches, perhaps, maybe. And so, I mean, I would assume, again, it would have been nice to have them here. Is the addition exactly the size that's on there? I mean, things happen during construction. It might be another 8 inches or a foot or, who knows. But So does the building official, not that this, I guess, is really part of our problem, but do they have a set of plans now as far as getting an application and going through that? Do we have something that is, that we could look at as far as what the dimensions are on the plan?
Yes, Chair Twait, they did submit a building permit, and it's not to say that the building permit, what they provide is accurate, what's going to be on site, but if you were to move forward with this and say, you approve it with a 3-foot encroachment, you could add a condition that they provide an as-built. And if it comes to exceed more than 3 feet, then they can come back and ask for more. So I would give you that option. But what they provide on the building permit, staff cannot confirm what is actually out on site. It's the only as-built survey that we can go off of.
And I would assume if it is being financed and there's a lender involved in it, that they're gonna require an as-built before that final financing is gonna be approved. So an as-built should be forthcoming. I don't wanna hold up their financing if they're ready to close on it, but they wouldn't be ready to close on anything until they have an as-built done, I would assume, unless it's a home equity line or something maybe like that, but. And I think, and you may know the answer to this off the top of your head, there is a provision for the building official, I think, to approve incrementally encroachments. I don't know how much it is, if it's a percentage or what the setback is, but I think there is something in code for them to be able to do that. I don't recall how much that is. So if we approved 3 feet, and it was another 8 inches, then that might be something the building official we could do administratively without having to have another public hearing on it. I don't know. Any feedback on from anybody on that?
So just to pick up on that, Chair Twait, so the zoning ordinance does allow an administrative encroachment up to 12 inches. So 10% of the required setback or up to 12, whichever is less. So at the end, they can max out at a foot beyond what you approved tonight through the administrative process.
Vice Chair Halsted.
Yep, I think that just it's such a small amount. I mean, we're not talking about a major encroachment. I wouldn't think I would be in favor of this. I don't think that it's it's a corner of the structure, if anything, that's going into that 3 feet. So I will be voting in favor of it.
Commissioner Greenberg.
Yeah, I also think it's really, the encroachment itself isn't, it is a small amount, and even if it varies by a foot or two on either side, but it would be good to know that, and from this document, I really feel like it's not genuinely representing what that distance is. So, and it's also kind of against the disclaimer, so I'm just concerned about this document, but otherwise I would be in favor of it.
So do we want to put a condition that if it is a certain amount different than that? Or do we want to just? But what if it's 5 feet? I mean, we don't know, we're assuming, but like I said, I don't.
You're thinking just saying condition to add or to approve it with a maximum of 3 foot encroachment?
And then the administration would have a foot on top of that, I think. Like I said, I just don't think, if we approve it as is, and it is 5 feet, do they have their encroachment permit, or what, I guess, what triggers it to come back to us? Or if we say it's approved and it does come back substantially different, would it come back to us?
Yes, Chair Twait, it would go back to you because planning would not approve something that your commission was not aware of. So if it's at 3 is what you're proposing, and then we come to find out when we go through the building permit that it's greater than that, then it will be brought back to your attention.
Okay, then we probably don't need the condition then. We can approve it, and if it does come back where it's gonna affect
Yeah,
it, we
that-
can come back and look at it then.
Yeah, that's fair enough, because with the building permit, the whole exercise will be reconstructed and the truth will out. So, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Glendenning,
Yes,
Chair Twait,
Yes.
Vice Chair Halsted.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and there will be a 15-day appeal period that an affected party can file with the clerk's office prior to receiving the permit. Takes us to no unfinished business under G. There's not an appeal period?
Not for an encroachment.
Oh, well, then I disregard all of that then. Seems like there should be. All right, no unfinished business. H, new business, we have one item tonight. For action approval, it's a time extension for compliance with a conditional use permit conditions in Resolution PZ 2021-44. Can I get a motion, please? Commissioner Greenberg.
I lost my place. Where were we at, 2021 dash?
Top of second page.
I move to approve PZ 2021-44.
All right, do I have a second?
Second?
All right,
We're not actually approving the resolution. It's already been approved, but
Oh.
approving a one-year time
the time extension, yeah.
to the conditional use.
So,
I move to approve the time extension for PZ 2021-44.
all right. Second's
Second.
good? All right. Staff report.
So the applicant has requested for a time extension for a CUP that was approved last year on December 22nd, 2021 for a standard marijuana cultivation facility located at 8847 Kenai Spur. And in the condition, it says that if you don't either get a building permit or establish the use within the year, it will expire or it will lapse. So therefore, the applicant has come in before that time as requesting for additional time to comply with the two conditions, obtaining a building permit and submitting a landscape site plan in order for them to operate. They have already submitted the landscape and site plan about a week and a half ago, and staff is reviewing it. And they have also submitted their building permit within the last week. So staff is expecting that those two things will be accomplished within the next couple weeks. So your commission, according to code, can allow up to a year's time extension, up to a maximum of 2 years. So this is strictly just asking for a 1-year time extension, so that it will expire December 23rd, 2023. And that concludes staff's report.
All right, thank you. Discussion. Commissioner Glendenning.
Thank you, Chairman.
I think the time extension is appropriate. A minimum seems to be the standard segment of time. They're working on their issues, and so it
should be met within that time. So if they're actively working on it, I see no reason not to approve the extension.
Very good. Vice Chair Halsted.
I would agree with Mr. Glendenning. I don't see any issue in granting an extension. Seems pretty standard.
I would agree. Commissioner Greenberg.
I also agree. I think there's no problem in granting an extension.
All right. Anything else? All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner Glendenning,
Yes.
Chair Twait,
Yes.
Vice Chair Halsted,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we have nothing under pending items, so that takes us to reports. J1 is City Council. Vice Mayor Baisden.
Thank you, Chair Twait. I could update the commission on a few items that council took up at our last meeting. We did pass ordinance 3321, which was the signed ordinance for parking at night on City of Kenai streets, trying to help law enforcement and also our roads department when it comes to clearing snow. So they're going to work on what they can do to make some changes out in some of the neighborhoods with some signage to see if that would help. Resolution 2283, we asked the governor to declare an economic disaster for the Upper East Side Cook Inlet fisheries. We kind of did the same thing that the borough, City of Soldotna has done, City of Homer and Seward, trying to get the governor's attention to show what impacts the fishing has had down here, and hopefully we can get his attention. We did finalize and approve an employment agreement between the council and Terry Eubank. So Terry will start as the city manager in January. And to go along with that, City Manager Paul Ostrander will have his going away party here on January 9th from 11:30 to 1:30. Open for any questions.
All right, any questions? How about the bluff erosion? Anything new and exciting happening there? Or is it just going through the process?
Still going through the process. The city manager did talk a little bit about some of the funding difficulties with federal monies and some of the match, how it's changed with some of the Build Back Better federal grants out there, to whereas we had a 35% match, now it's maybe a 90-10, and it might throw a monkey wrench into some of the things we're trying to do, but it's still moving forward. So it sounds like I think we're at the 65% planning with the plans and that type of thing, but it sounds like it's still moving forward, but there's always some difficulties with this amount of funding.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. J2, since we don't have a borough commissioner here, we'll pass on that and go to item J3, administration. Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair Twait. So in your packet, you received a memorandum on the conditional use permit annual reports. It shows that staff has received 49 annual reports, but we're still pending approximately a little bit over 100 of them. Yes. These are taking a little bit longer for staff to review because I'm actually looking at them thoroughly to make sure that they're meeting their conditions in compliance with what your commission has approved for what they do on this premise. So what we are also discovering is a lot of these are inactive, and we are going to start seeing a few of these time extensions because staff is going to be proactive in sending them letters, because there are two caveats when a CUP lapses or expires. One is if a city staff sends out a notification, they have 90 days to submit their time extension. But if they don't get a written notice from staff, they have up to 2 years to submit a time extension. So that gives them a lot of leeway, and part of this annual report, I believe, is for us to make sure that we send out those letters sooner than later. So I just want to kind of give you that heads up that you might be seeing a lot more time extensions for CUPs in the near future. And before I move on to anything, does anyone have any questions about this list? Yes.
I was just concerned if that's historically is, I'm sorry if I went over somebody, is this what the same thing that it looked like last year, or is it that, I mean, when you say there's 111 that have not been turned in, is it they've been turned in but not have had a chance to be reviewed yet?
So these are 111 that we're still waiting to receive. So we sent out over 150 reminders in October.
Wow.
And I can't speak for what happened last year and how things were reviewed. I can just speak of what staff has done since I've been here, and we're just trying to get things in order and keep people accountable for what the city has allowed.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glendenning.
Yeah, just a procedural question. When we send out the reminder, does that require a return signature that they have received it, or do we just send a letter to the last known address and there's plausible deniability on their part? I've been at this a little bit, and there's always this discussion of, well, I didn't get the letter, and I'm sorry, and I'm applying for my extension now. How do we know that they actually got the notice?
Thank you, Commissioner Glendenning. That is a very good question. So by ordinance, staff is not required to send them a reminder. That is staff going above and beyond. It is a condition when they were approved it that they were to send this annual report between the end of October to the end of this year. So it is on them to ensure that they're compliant with their CUP. We don't send certified mail because that costs about $6-7 per letter. And that will be a very hefty expense for the department just for this small project. So, but that's a very good question.
Anyone else? All right, we're good with that. What else do you have?
What would be the consequences for somebody to not respond? Are there what is
Thank you, Commissioner Greenberg. So like I mentioned before, if they don't send it, then staff will be aware that, hey, we can send them a notice like, you know, it's been a year since we received anything, so therefore your CUP has expired. And so once we send that letter, they have that 90 days. And if they don't respond, then we just assume it expired. There's no more option for them to come back and ask for an extension.
what were to be to happen if a whole bunch didn't respond? Would they expire and then all these conditional?
Be done.
Wow, that's a lot of.
Housekeeping.
And it's not to say these 100, the remaining 100 are still active. Staff kind of just went with the list that we had, and we're not even clear if they're still operating as of last year. So we just wanted to be precautious of it, and we went ahead and sent it to everyone. So I personally do not know out of this 111 if last year they weren't even operating. So we just went with the whole list. That way we cover the basis.
Yeah, that sounds good. I wonder if there would be a way to just say, to ask them if they're, are you, can we get you off the books, but I think, a lot of people just are gone here from the winter and maybe they, have a P.O. box and they're not going to get it until they come back and when they're, when they open up in May or whatever, if they're like a, lodge type situation. So, yeah, I'm just concerned, I guess, because there's that many, that haven't responded. But it would be nice to clean up the, the people who just aren't operating anymore.
So I didn't answer a question that Commissioner Glendenning asked in terms of, and as well as Commissioner Greenberg, is when they submit these annual reports, we do look at it to see if their point of contact have changed. So we update our list. So that way we hopefully have the most current information, as well as if the ownership has changed. We have caught a few where they went ahead and changed ownership and they should have done a CUP transfer. So we're catching a lot of these and we're spending a lot of times going through it. So that's our hope of making sure we're sending it to the latest mailing address and to the point of contact.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, now you can continue on with whatever else you have.
Thank you, Chair Twait. So last meeting, I asked about budget goals. I will go ahead and send out an email reminder of getting written budget goals for the department from your commission, if you can provide it to me via email or in person, so that I can kind of consolidate the goals that you want for the department, and then we can all have a conversation about it and anticipate it and include it in the fiscal year. And then another thing I'm working on is code cleanups. If there are some things that you want to bring to my attention besides the one that I've noticed that are kind of outdated or needs to be revised to ensure that staff can actually enforce, I want to go ahead and start working on those and making it a yearly, if not twice a year, cleanup, because there are a lot of changes to other provisions of the code, and we don't update it in our code, so there's reference to the wrong borough code references, like in the plat that I've noticed. So I'm sure your commission has a lot of code cleanups that you can bring to my attention, and I want to start working on those. Did you?
Yeah, just one in particular, I think Elizabeth had started on it, was a sign code. There was, she highlighted a few things where we're the borough is no longer federally compliant with our sign code. I mean, the city is no longer federally compliant with the sign code because of certain terms or something like that. I forgot. But we started down the road of reviewing the sign code. I know that was kind of a priority, and some of the ways we're not compliant are at the federal level, which could cause problems with the city.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Commissioner Greenberg. That is on my list. Before I do bring it back to you, I would like to do a fresh start since I wasn't part of that conversation and kind of get us all on the same page before I bring that, working on the amendment to that. But it is on my radar. Thank you for bringing that up. Then, since Chair Twait asked about the Bluff project, I wanted to let you know that Kenai is officially accepted into the NFIP, National Floodplain Insurance Program, at the beginning of December, but we just got our letter just right before this meeting, so I'm really excited to announce that. What's going to happen next from planning is we're going to be sending a letter to all the property owners that fall within the floodplain to inform them that the city has been accepted into it, and now they can apply for flood insurance through FEMA. So that is very exciting news. And lastly, I do want to let your commission know that you were informed that we had another planning staff that was hired on in September. Unfortunately, we have let her go, so now it's just myself. So if there's anything, please be patient with me. I am doing the best I can, but I'm very excited for where we're going. And if anything, the quality will still be there. So I just want to let you all know that.
Very good. Any other questions of staff? All right, then we will move on to additional public comments. Doesn't look like that is an option. We talked about our informational items there at the end of the packet. Our next meeting, January 11th. Everyone planning on attending? Very good. Commissioners' comments and questions. Commissioner Glendening.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to our staff that you're bringing a lot of these items to our attention, and the more that you call them out, the less surprises we'll have. So for the budget prospect, we should probably look at last year's budget and see what the concerns are, and it's more than staffing and pay. It's what funding to help you acknowledge compliance with certain conditions. I don't know, could you just maybe at some point in time just give us a little clue of what you're really looking for, and that would help me in my old age. Thank you.
Commissioner Woodard.
Happy New Year.
Very good. Vice Chair Halsted.
I would just agree with Mr. Glendening. I think you're doing a phenomenal job so far in a very short period of time. I like that you're shaking things up, and you're definitely you got a lot on your plate. And if there's anything that you need, I'd like to volunteer Jeff Twait's time for any of your needs.
You can ask all you want for that. You're out of order, I think, is how this is. Commissioner Greenberg.
Yeah, this is great to see. I don't believe we've ever seen, this list and seen that. So it's interesting to know. It's new information, and thank you for digging into that.
All right, and yeah, I would just kind of echo that too. I know a lot of these that I've just glanced through are certainly still in business. I think it's a matter of new sheriff in town. You better get your stuff into them. So hopefully that'll happen in that 90-day period. Otherwise, come May, when some of these come home, they might be a little surprised by what they got to deal with. So, and with that, I have nothing else other than Happy New Year, and wish everybody a great couple weeks before we're back here. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.